big shout out to them first and foremost for allowing us to come in and use this for our studio. And guys, if you need any kind of work done, apparel, hat, shirts, pullovers, I mean, we got a few examples back here that Jordan's grabbing real quick, but he does great work. He made our shirts, so we want to give a big shout out to SportsMart for that. Nice hoodie. He can do anything, any school, so reach out to them and let them know. But we want to dive right in, and Coach, we appreciate you taking the time out with us today.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
No problem. Not a problem at all. I'll let Jordan dive in and get us started today.
All right, so Coach, we'll go ahead and get this out of the way. Tough game last night against Capital at Lately.
Yeah.
You guys jumped out to an early 14-0 lead. Just kind of describe to me what kind of happened, what took place after that.
Well, I think we jumped on them, and then I think momentum shifted when we started to accumulate some penalties, had a couple turnovers, things didn't go our way. And when you play in a championship program like Capital, athletic team like Capital with good coaching and solid history, that's one thing you cannot do. You can't commit turnovers and you can't commit stupid penalties.
Right.
So I think that's what the sum of the game was kind of how I went downhill.
Right. Do you feel like maybe some of the youth on South Charleston's football team attributed to that, or do you just?
Yeah, I mean, youth and inexperience always, I think, plays a factor when you're dealing with football and you get your kind of emotions wrapped up.
Right.
And you kind of get out of pocket a little bit. And, like I said, we got a young puppet quarterback who's a very good, talented guy.
Right.
And, and again, and not to take any away from Capital, they
Right.
just, defensively, they just made some good plays. And they made timely plays. I don't think they played their best game, and I think their coach will probably tell you that. But they made plays when they needed to make them.
Right. And that defense for Capital is upperclassmen heavy. So
Definitely.
So we'll go ahead and get this out of the way. So looking forward to this week of practice, obviously you got to get ready for the juggernaut there for Kentucky Charleston Central.
Yes.
What are you guys working on in practice this week?
Well, I think for us it's just just keep doing what we're doing. Like I said, I think when it comes to Coach Mays, and like I said, I'm just the quarterback coach. Yeah, but Coach Mays is our head coach, and I think he's one of the, at least what I've been around in my football, he's one of the best X and O's guys there is.
Right.
And I think we just got to keep doing what we're doing. I think
Trust the system.
Trust the system,
Right.
and I think the main thing we just got to work on is just being disciplined and just really just staying focused. I don't know how you necessarily work on those things, but I think we just got to really start to master the little things and everything else.
Well, one, I feel like that's a culture thing.
Yeah.
And two, that's the thing that comes with repetition.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
you got to just keep repping and like I said, trust the system and trust the coaching.
Yeah. Get the guys to understand, like, I think, we're at a championship program level too. We have that history and that, and Coach Mays knows what he's doing, so.
Okay.
Now, obviously, a tough loss last night, 38-14.
Yeah.
How do you get your guys ready to face a team like Johnson Central after a tough loss like that?
I think, I like to look at the tape. So I think we got to look at this tape and seeing that, we jumped out on these guys. We jumped out on Capital, and we had the game under control for at least, some majority of the first half. So I think those are things that we can take with us and understanding that this isn't, they're not outmanning us. Nick Saban says something about, when he talks about his locker room, he doesn't have like other teams' paraphernalia. He doesn't say, how the teams will have the clock.
Yeah.
They say it's 5 days until we face blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And what he says, he doesn't have any of that sort of newspaper clippings in his locker room. The focus is always on Alabama. And I think for South Charleston, that's got to be the thing. The focus just got to be on South Charleston and doing what we do and making sure we're a tight, cohesive unit.
Right. See, and that's the thing with the MSAC. I mean, it's one of the toughest conferences in the state.
SEC of West Virginia.
Right, exactly. And that's what Coach Carper called it last week.
Exactly what he said.
And that's the thing, because it doesn't get easier.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you have Johnson Central this week, and then you're right back to MSAC play, and you go to Huntington, and then to Spring Valley back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, man.
How do you all have that mindset prepared? Like, we had Capital this week, and then we have this team, and this team. And I understand what you're saying about it has to be on South Charleston. But how do you get your guys ready to face basically could be a playoff team every week in the MSAC?
Well, I think that's it. You got to have a playoff mentality every single week because that's what it is. This is a dogfight conference, and unfortunately, due to I guess declining population, whatever, AAA is shrinking as a division in football. So you can't go play the AA and single A team. That's not going to help you. So you got to go out.
In some cases, it may hurt you.
It may hurt you. So you got to go out to Kentucky and Ohio and Virginia, and you got to play the big dogs. So every week for us, particularly with this first 5 to 6 game stretch, we got to approach this like this is playoffs, and it's do or die.
And it is. It really is. I mean, you guys have got, like Jeremy said, you've got Johnson Central this week, you've got Spring Valley and Cabot Mill, and thankfully you get a break.
And the thing is, and just to answer my question directly, when we talk about like a Johnson Central, you have to match their intensity and you have to match their discipline. I think athletically we can match up pretty well, but we have to match their intensity. We have to match their discipline because they run an option and you got to be very disciplined.
You never know who's going to get the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they run 3 guys into the same hole, and any 3 could get the ball.
Yeah, man.
And that's the crazy part because you talk about a team like Johnson Central, but we have a team like that up north. I'm hoping this year could be the year that somebody dethrones Martinsburg, but it's not looking like that. They beat a team last night, 76-6 from DC. And the sad part is they were up 63-6 at halftime. Like they could have scored over 100 points last night and played their JV and all that last night. But when they're beating teams from out of state, and I know that the team they beat week 1 was it was a Christian school from DC also, right?
Yes.
But they're beating teams out of state, like these, big 3A and 4A schools from out of state, beating them 76-6, and then they come back in state and they beat, Hedgesville, but they're looking for their second 4P for state championships, and it's just crazy that a team just reloads every year like that. Is there any chance at all that Martinsburg could get beat in state this year?
I don't know, man. I mean, hopefully, I think if we could, get it together, I think maybe we could. I think maybe one of the teams, like Kappa, being like Kappa, I think we always have a shot at beating them. But I would really like to. I would really be interested to know what their youth and middle school programs is like.
And
we talk about reloading.
And that's the thing we talked about last week. We've talked to a few coaches up in the Panhandle, and the thing that Martinsburg does is from the time you start football in Martinsburg, you run the same offense and the same defense from 5 years old to when you're a senior in high school. That way, you're prepared for it when you hit high school, and you're just improving every year.
You know the verbiage, the calls. I mean, and then you just have to assume. I've never personally spoke with Coach Walker, but you have to assume that their strength and conditioning programs are extremely executed well.
And it doesn't hurt when you replace Grant Harmon last year, was a great quarterback from Martinsburg, with an Elijah Banks, and you add Malachi Brown from Hedgesville that transferred over. And and then you have Naeem Kearney running the ball for you in the backfield. Like it's
embarrassing.
The rich get richer, I guess.
That's like just come bring back to South Charleston. That's really something I like to see. I think that we have an opportunity because we talk about Dunbar and South Charleston. They're such tightly knit communities.
Yeah.
I think we would have the similar opportunity to kind of implement those things from our youth programs all the way through. I think everybody's got to get on one accord, because I think we have the opportunities to be that good.
Right. Yeah. And I think that would be huge for this area.
Yeah.
When you're starting that, because it seems like every other year when you're playing, the Midget League football in the middle school, it's a different offense and a different defense every time you take the field. Yeah. And I just think there needs to be some consistency from the Midget League level all the way up.
Myself, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. There's got to be some community pride at some point too. Kids have got to want to go to South Charleston. I mean, if they live in South Charleston and they grow up in South Charleston and Dunbar and play in the Midget League and grow up under those coaches and play for the middle schools, they have to want to go to SC.
I know myself and Coach Lee were talking. He runs the South Charleston youth football. And the thing about it, I think particularly when you're talking about youth football, the middle school and little league, you just can't be afraid to lose, for lack of better words. You can't sacrifice discipline. You can't sacrifice tradition and pride for just short-term wins.
Right.
Exactly. Because when you talk about a program like Martinsburg, you talk about like Shepherd, you talk about that whole just thing up there. it's a tradition, it's a pride, and they've established that. And because they have such a solid foundation, it's just rolling.
Right. Exactly.
And that's the thing we talked about too. Once Martinsburg does decline, because every dynasty does come to an end, I don't believe we'll ever see that again. Like something that Martinsburg's won. They won 44 straight games. They've won 7 out of the last 9 state championships. Probably 8.
They haven't
after
lost
this year.
since Tyree Pratt was a senior at Capitol.
Yeah.
That puts it in perspective.
Yeah, their loss was 2015.
Yeah.
Was their last loss.
Was it last loss? 20?
Yes.
They didn't lose
They won 44 straight games.
Regular season and playoff.
Nah, I did not know that.
Yeah.
I thought they maybe took a.
It's
I
wild.
didn't realize it had been there.
They had a real close one last season against Sharando, Virginia. He was a big, gigantic 4A school in Virginia.
I think I remember that.
And they ended up, I think they won by it was a shootout. I think they won 50 to 48.
Yeah, I remember because I remember watching. I'm not watching the line.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. They have another tough game. I mean, they played them again this year.
Yeah, they
And
play
then
Salem. They play
Virginia.
Salem, Virginia, who's out of the Hampton Roads area. So
Okay, that'll
be a contest. That'll be a good contest.
And they go to Salem, so it'll definitely be a good
Wow, that's a trip.
And that's the thing too. Like they're playing these 4A gigantic schools out of other states, and then they come in state and they're beating. They beat Musselman last year. Had a fantastic year. Beat them 70-7.
Yeah.
Like it's just something needs to change.
But I think again, just bringing it back, I think we Southern West Virginia, even looking at Capital, looking at South Charleston, even GW to a lesser degree, I think we are the communities that can change that. But it's a community. It's not a Donnie Mae. It's not a Coach Carter. Not a Steve Evers problem. It's a community thing, and if we can get it from the community on up, that's how it can really start to change.
All right. Well, speaking of community, Coach, I'm going to turn this over to you
Transition.
a little bit. I understand that you are up for election.
Yes, so I'm currently the magistrate judge now.
Congratulations.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So we have an election in May of 2020. So, I have a webpage. It's househouseformagistrates.com and Facebook and all that. Yeah, so go check it out.
Absolutely.
And that's a big reason we love bringing people in is getting you out there more.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, because you got that election coming up. Obviously, we're always here in your corner.
I appreciate it.
We definitely appreciate you taking the time out and interviewing with us. Definitely means a lot to us because when we started what we're doing, I mean, we never thought we'd have anything where we're at now. But being able to help the kids in the state, I mean, that's all we do.
It's beautiful because this is kind of what we needed. A lot of other places I've lived in different states, they have similar programs, and this is definitely what we need. We definitely need to shine a spotlight because this helps the kids with recruiting. And like I said, myself, I'm just an old volunteer coach, and I just, I do it for the kids. I just want to.
You help my son.
Yeah, man.
Here next, so
yeah.
I greatly appreciate it.
No problem.
So we're gonna usually we talk about some of the other games that happen across the state. So last night, Cabell Midland beat Parkersburg 55-13.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's all you can say with
keep
that.
rolling. Spring Valley took a game that really surprised us. We kind of thought Hurricane had maybe turned a corner. And actually, most of our panel picked Hurricane to win this game last night, and Spring Valley came out and just suffocated them.
Other than your wife, everybody picked Hurricane.
Yeah,
Mindy, behind the camera today, picked Spring Valley to win that game. And we have a great relationship with some former players from Spring Valley. So once we posted our picks, Doug Nestor reached out, and it's always good. Like the kids you interview that have went on to college and that are still in contact with you. I mean, that's what it's all about. And there was a lot of good games. I mean, Ethan Payne from Poca had 12 carries.
He is.
He's the truth, man.
He is.
He had 12 carries last night for 304 yards.
I think he would be my early candidate for the
Kennedy
Award.
Yeah,
I think he's got to be at the top of the list, right?
We interviewed him.
We interviewed him and his brother Toby.
I remember we played him at Dunbar when I was.
That scrimmage.
The scrimmage.
Oh my! I remember every bit of it.
Lord, that was crazy.
Like, and that's the crazy part is he had 12 carries. He had 11 carries in the first half, and had 1 in the second half, and that 1 carry in the second half went for a 71-yard touchdown run. Like it's just.
And he had an 82-yard punt return for a touchdown call back.
Him and his brother those kids are they're going to really be doing some things.
Yeah,
And Poca, and we've had the pleasure of talking to Coach Ramsey. He was on our coaches panel before the season started, and he's doing great things out of Poca. Poca was one of those teams that you see them on their schedule, like, all right, you know, they've lost 39 games in a row.
That's a great story.
They turned it around. They went 9-1 last year, and then lost their first playoff game because of the injury.
He had a hip injury.
But he looks to be back full and healthy and better than ever. And
I mean, if you score five
touchdowns,
if you score 4 touchdowns in the first half and have 30 yards rushing, I mean, your coaches can pretty much sit you.
and again, that's just another example because they were good in the Little League program. They were good in the middle school program, and they transitioned all the way from there to the high school program. Yeah. So this is just how this works. You stay in your community, you build it correctly, and this can be the result. Because I think they're on their way.
Definitely doing big things out of Poca.
And they're doing all this, and they lost one of their main weapons for the majority for the season in Owens McClanahan.
Yeah.
He was like their slot receiver / flashback.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Nice.
Plus, he was one of their better defenders on defense. One of their best safeties or corners.
But you know the old adage, Jeremy.
Next man up. And that's the thing. I mean, obviously, you're going to have injuries in high school football, and you're just going to have to look you may be a freshman, but guess what? Now it's your time to step up and play.
Absolutely.
Injuries are part of the game, and you just got to go. And
I know South Charleston's experience their fair share.
We are.
we see, and that's the thing we talked about on our way to Richwood last night was a week 2 game, and from Capital standpoint, they had Carrington Hill out with his rib injury. South Charleston was Key being injured, and you have Quali out. And it's the thing, like week 2.
Starting lineman out.
And that's the thing,
like small snapper was out.
Yeah.
So
that was horrible. We hope he's all right. Well, I actually witnessed that Monday. So.
And that's the thing, because week 2, you're normally not talking, well, this kid's injured, like who's healthy. Like week 2, you're thinking, okay, you got a full South Charleston team, you got a full Capital team, should be a good one to go. But this year, obviously, other plans with Zyke being hurt, Quali being hurt, Hunter being hurt, and then, I mean, it's just, you got to do next man up in that situation.
So I know they lost, but how about Hurricane putting up a fight against Huntington? I mean, it was 35-22, but there for a while it was.
You mean Riverside?
Who did I say?
Hurricane.
I'm sorry. Huntington and Riverside played last night, and Riverside was able to keep it competitive.
35-21, I think that's the final.
Yeah.
And Coach Daugherty's doing great things down at Riverside. They've had great. Then you talk about the programs again. I believe DuPont played for the county championship last year.
They did.
East Bank was pretty good the last couple of years.
And that's the thing.
Matter of fact, Capital starting quarterback played for East Bank.
Okay.
And that's the thing too. And you talk about that with Coach Daugherty's a young coach.
Extremely young. Isn't he like the youngest coach in the state?
I believe so. And that's the thing. We've talked to him too, and it's a great story on how. We'll see if we can't get him on here soon.
He's another one that's trying to change the culture.
Yeah, and that's what it's about. You have to change. If you don't have a culture, you got to establish culture and tradition and kind of weave those things into football. It's bigger than just the game itself. It's everything that's around it. Even the the community support itself. We have strong, we can look at like kind of what Steve Edwards has done with George Washington's program. It's a community thing. Right. It's not just a football thing. That's the beauty about the game because everybody's from, like you said, the band to the majorettes, to cheerleaders, to the all-TC guys, to guys like us coaching and calling the games. It's a community thing. Right. So that's what we got to build.
We appreciate you taking the time out and interviewing with us today. Good luck Friday night.
Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Not a problem.
No problem.